The Imperial scout ship Star Seeker drifted silently through the outer edges of an unexplored solar system. Its sleek, silver hull reflected the distant starlight as it approached the third planet from the sun. Captain Mark of the Galactic Empire stood on his bridge, his eyes fixed on the beautiful blue world that appeared on the main screen. "Life signs are off the charts, sir," reported his science officer. "And we're detecting artificial satellites. Thousands of them." Mark smiled. Another primitive world to add to the Empire's collection. After ruling over 500 star systems for 1,000 years, the Empire had perfected the art of absorbing new civilizations. Some required force, others simply bowed to the inevitable. All eventually joined the Empire. "Standard first contact protocols," Mark ordered, straightening his pristine white uniform. "Let's introduce ourselves to the locals." The Star Seeker moved closer to Earth, broadcasting the Empire's universal greeting message on all frequencies. Within minutes, they received a response. Earth's combined military forces had detected their approach long before they entered the solar system, but had chosen to wait and observe. "Sir," called out the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from their global governing body, something called the United Nations." The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral James Thompson of the Earth Defense Force. His weathered face and steady gaze spoke of experience and confidence. "Welcome to Earth," Thompson said calmly. "We've been watching your approach for the past week. State your intentions." Mark was surprised but maintained his composure. "I am Captain Mark of the Galactic Empire. We bring you greetings and an invitation to join our grand civilization. The Empire spans hundreds of worlds, and we offer you the chance to become part of something greater than yourselves." Thompson's expression didn't change. "And if we prefer to remain independent?" Mark's friendly smile faded slightly. "I'm afraid that's not an option. The Empire maintains order through unity. All civilizations eventually join us. It's better to accept this peacefully." The transmission was briefly muted as Thompson consulted with the UN Security Council. When he returned, his voice was firm. "Captain Mark, Earth respectfully declines your offer. We have no interest in surrendering our sovereignty to your empire." Mark's face hardened. This wasn't how first contact usually went. These humans were surprisingly direct and disturbingly confident. "Perhaps I wasn't clear," Mark said, his tone losing its diplomatic polish. "This isn't a request. The Empire will absorb your world, either peacefully or by force. You lack the technology to resist us. Your primitive satellites and handful of space stations would be destroyed in minutes." Thompson leaned forward, and for the first time, a small smile crossed his face. "Captain, I'm going to give you one chance, just one, to turn around and leave this solar system. We've been preparing for this day for over a century. You don't want this fight." Mark laughed. "You dare threaten the Empire? We have conquered civilizations far more advanced than yours. You haven't even achieved proper spaceflight." "That's where you're wrong," Thompson replied quietly. "What you see is what we want you to see. This is your final warning. Leave. Now." Mark's face flushed with anger. How dare these primitives speak to him this way? He turned to his tactical officer. "Send the standard ultimatum. They have 24 hours to surrender, or we'll call in the pacification fleet." The ultimatum was sent, and the Star Seeker moved back to a safe observation distance. Mark was confident that once these humans saw the size of a proper Imperial fleet, they would understand their situation. The response came almost immediately. Admiral Thompson's face appeared on screen one final time. His words would soon become famous throughout the galaxy. "Captain Mark, we tried to warn you. We gave you the chance to run. Remember, in the days to come, the choice to avoid what happens next was yours. Humanity hasn't spent the last 100 years hiding in fear. We've been preparing. You're not the first aliens we've detected, just the first to make contact. And you're about to learn why the others chose to stay away." The transmission cut off, leaving Mark staring at a blank screen. For the first time in his career, A small seed of doubt crept into his mind, but he quickly dismissed it. After all, what could one primitive world possibly do against the might of the Galactic Empire? He was about to find out. 3 days after Captain Mark's ultimatum, the Imperial Pacification Fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. 200 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their weapons already charging. Admiral Peter, commander of the fleet, stood confidently on his flagship's bridge. "Status report on the primitive defenses," he asked, watching the blue planet on his view screen. "Sir, we detect approximately 1,000 satellites. Most appear to be communication or observation platforms. No significant weapons detected. Their space stations are minimal. This should be a routine pacification," his tactical officer reported. Admiral Peter nodded. "This would be like countless conquests before. Begin standard attack formation. Target their major military installations first. I want this done quickly." The Imperial fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their silver hulls gleaming in the sunlight. They passed Mars, expecting no resistance until they reached Earth orbit. They were wrong. Suddenly, alarms blared across every Imperial ship. "Sir," the sensor officer shouted, multiple energy signatures appearing everywhere. "They're coming from hidden platforms throughout the entire solar system." Before Admiral Peter could respond, hundreds of previously invisible defense platforms shimmered into view. They had been there all along, hidden by advanced cloaking technology. Earth's true defense grid was finally revealing itself. "Impossible," Peter whispered. "Their technology level." "Sir, we're being scanned by quantum detection systems. They're more advanced than ours." Admiral Thompson's voice came through on all Imperial channels. "We warned you. Defense grid activate. Protocol. Empire's folly." The first wave of human attacks struck like lightning. Precision energy beams from the defense platforms carved through Imperial shields as if they weren't there. 30 Imperial ships exploded in the first minute. "Return fire," Peter ordered, his confidence shattered. "All ships, full attack pattern." The Imperial fleet launched their counterattack, but they were shooting at targets their systems could barely track. The human defense platforms used some kind of phase-shifting technology, becoming partly ethereal when under direct attack. On Earth, in the underground command center, Admiral Thompson watched the battle with his command staff. "Status report," he ordered. "Defense grid performing at 98% efficiency," reported Commander Anna. "Enemy shields are vulnerable to our quantum penetration beams. Their targeting systems can't keep up with our phase shifting. We're already seeing panic in their formations." Thompson nodded. "Launch the Hunter squadrons." From hidden bases on Mars and several asteroids, Earth's real warships emerged. They were sleek, black vessels that barely showed up on sensors. Each one carried enough firepower to match 10 Imperial ships. "Sir," an Imperial officer shouted to Admiral Peter, "New contacts. Enemy warships approaching from multiple vectors." Peter watched in horror as his fleet was caught in a perfect three-dimensional crossfire. Earth's defense platforms prevented retreat while their warships pressed the attack. Imperial ships exploded one after another. "This is impossible," Peter shouted. "They're supposed to be primitives. How do they have this technology?" "Sir, we've lost 40% of the fleet. Now 50%. They're predicting our every move." The human warships moved with impossible precision, their formations shifting faster than any human crew could manage. The truth dawned on Peter too late. They were fighting AI-assisted combat systems, far more advanced than anything the Empire possessed. "All ships, retreat," Peter ordered. Emergency jump to light speed. But the humans had one final surprise. As the surviving Imperial ships tried to flee, they found their faster-than-light drives wouldn't activate. "Some kind of interference field," Peter's engineer reported, panic in his voice. "They've trapped us in normal space." In the Earth Command Center, Thompson watched as the Imperial fleet was reduced to floating debris. Of the original 200 ships, only 80 managed to eventually escape. The rest were destroyed or captured. Message from the Empire. Sir, reported Commander Anna. They're demanding to know how we acquired such advanced technology. Thompson smiled grimly. Send them our response. This was just our first line of defense. Still think we're primitives. As the surviving Imperial ships limped home, they carried with them a terrifying message. The Empire had finally met its match. These humans weren't just ready for war. They had been preparing for it for generations. And they were just getting started. The Imperial High Council gathered in their grand chamber on the capital world. The mood was tense as they watched recordings of their fleet's devastating defeat at Earth. Emperor William, dressed in ceremonial gold robes, gripped his throne's armrests tightly. How? He demanded. How did one primitive world defeat our pacification fleet? Admiral Peter, still showing burns from the battle, stood before them. Your Majesty, we were wrong about everything. The humans have technology that matches or exceeds ours. And now they're on the move. As if to confirm his words, urgent messages began flooding in from multiple Imperial colonies. The humans had launched their counterattack. In deep space, Earth's true military power was revealing itself. The stealth carrier Vengeance dropped out of quantum space near an Imperial colony. Unlike the Empire's massive, showy warships, human vessels were dark, angular, and nearly invisible to normal sensors. Captain Tom stood on his bridge, surrounded not by dozens of crew members, but by glowing holographic displays. His Neuralink connected him directly to the ship's eye. Begin Operation Payback, he ordered. Launch the swarm. The carrier's launch bays opened, but instead of traditional fighters, it released millions of tiny, gleaming objects. Each one was smaller than a human hand, a nanodrone equipped with advanced AI and quantum weapons. On the Imperial colony below, defensive systems didn't even detect the attack until it was too late. The nanoswarm swept through their defenses like a metallic storm. Within hours, every military installation on the planet was disabled. Similar attacks happened simultaneously across 20 Imperial worlds. Humanity wasn't just defending. They were systematically dismantling the Empire's military infrastructure. Back in the Imperial chamber, reports kept coming in. My Emperor, a general reported, his hologram flickering with static. The humans, their ships are appearing everywhere. They have some kind of faster-than-light technology we've never seen. They're bypassing all our early warning systems. Emperor William turned to his chief scientist. How is this possible? We've ruled space for 1,000 years. The scientist, looking at the latest data, shook his head in amazement. It appears the humans were preparing for space warfare long before they actually went to space. They didn't follow our technological development path. While we focused on expanding, they focused on perfecting their military technology. Their AI systems are generations ahead of ours. Another emergency transmission came in. An Imperial battleship captain appeared, his image shaking. We're under attack by something we can't even see. Our shields are useless against their quantum weapons. They're not trying to destroy us. They're disabling our ships with surgical precision. In Earth's Central Command, Admiral Thompson watched the operations unfold. Holographic displays showed hundreds of human ships striking across Imperial space. Each ship carried a quantum AI core, making them more intelligent than entire Imperial fleets. Status report, Thompson ordered. Commander Anna smiled. Phase 1 complete, sir. 23 Imperial colonies have been neutralized. Their defensive capabilities are offline. No civilian casualties. The nanoswarms performed perfectly. And the Imperial response. They're trying to mobilize their main fleet, but our cyber warfare division infiltrated their networks months ago. They can't coordinate effectively. Thompson nodded. Everything was going according to plans laid down decades ago. Humanity had watched the Empire expand, studied their technology, and prepared countermeasures for everything. Send the next message to their capital, Thompson ordered. Across Imperial space, on every communication channel, the humans broadcast their demands. Your empire has two choices: surrender and reform, or watch as we dismantle every military asset you possess. We don't want to rule you. We don't want your worlds. We just want you to understand one simple truth: humanity will not be conquered. In his throne room, Emperor William received an additional private message from Earth. It was short but terrifying. This is only 10% of our military capability. Do you really want to see the rest? For the first time in its 1,000-year history, the Galactic Empire faced an enemy it couldn't overwhelm with brute force. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were revolutionizing warfare itself. And the Empire was beginning to realize that this was a war they couldn't win. The Imperial capital world buzzed with activity as thousands of warships gathered. The Empire had called in every available vessel from its 500 worlds. The combined fleet was massive. Over 10,000 ships filled the space around the capital. Supreme Commander Robert stood on his new flagship's bridge. The Imperial Wrath was the largest warship ever built, nearly the size of a small moon. Its construction had been rushed after the first defeats against Earth. Status of the fleet. Robert asked his command staff. "All ships report ready, sir," his admiral replied. "We've upgraded our shields based on data from previous battles. Our new quantum sensors should be able to detect their stealth technology." Robert nodded grimly. The Empire had spent enormous resources preparing for this counterattack. They had even copied some of the human technology from destroyed ships. "Begin the operation," he ordered. "Let's show these humans what real Imperial power looks like." The massive fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, heading toward Earth. But something was wrong. As soon as they entered quantum space, strange readings appeared on their sensors. "Sir," a sensor officer called out, "our quantum space route is changing." Robert rushed to the display. The humans had somehow modified the fabric of quantum space itself, creating a tunnel that forced the Imperial fleet to exit right where they wanted them, near Proxima Centauri. As the Imperial ships dropped back into normal space, they found themselves facing just 3 human vessels. "Only 3 ships." Robert laughed. "This is what they send against our main fleet." His laughter died as the sensor readings came in. These weren't normal warships. Each one was massive, easily matching his flagship in size. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb light itself. Admiral Thompson's voice came through on all channels. "Welcome to Proxima Centauri, Commander Robert. We've been waiting for you." "All ships, open fire," Robert ordered. 10,000 Imperial ships launched their attacks simultaneously. But the human vessels didn't try to dodge. Instead, the space around them seemed to bend and twist. Every Imperial weapon shot was caught in strange fields of warped space-time, their energy dissipating harmlessly. "Impossible," Robert whispered. "No shield technology can do that." "You're right," Thompson replied. "It's not." The Imperial Council met in emergency session, their faces pale with fear. The loss of their main fleet had shaken the Empire to its core. Emperor William paced nervously in his throne room. "What about the biological weapon?" He asked his chief scientist. "Is it ready?" The scientist nodded slowly. "Yes, Your Majesty. Our most deadly virus, engineered to target human DNA. Our ships are in position to release it into Earth's atmosphere." The Emperor gave the order. 20 small Imperial ships, hidden near Earth's moon, launched thousands of biological warheads toward the blue planet. In Earth's command center, Admiral Thompson watched the attack on his screens with calm interest. "They actually tried it," he said, almost amused. "Activate the atmospheric defense grid." High above Earth, millions of tiny points of light suddenly appeared. The planet's atmosphere lit up with a web of energy as nanobots activated. These microscopic robots had been part of Earth's atmosphere for decades, silently waiting. The Imperial warheads never reached their target. Each one was intercepted and broken down at the molecular level by swarms of nanobots. "Sir," Commander Anna reported, "the nanobots have analyzed their bioweapon. Adding it to our database, Our medical eye is already developing countermeasures, just in case. Thompson nodded. Now, show them why biological warfare against Earth was a very bad idea. Across human space, massive structures began appearing. Hidden bases on Mars emerged from beneath the red sand. Entire cities rose from beneath Europa's ice. Asteroid bases uncloaked themselves. Humanity's true civilization was finally revealing itself. In the Imperial Palace, alerts began blaring. Your Majesty, a general burst into the throne room. The humans, they're everywhere. They have bases throughout their entire solar system. Our sensors show massive energy readings. Their industrial capacity, it's beyond anything we imagined. The Emperor watched in horror as new data poured in. The humans hadn't just built defenses, they had created an entirely distributed civilization. Even if Earth itself was somehow destroyed, humanity would fight on from countless other locations. Then came the most shocking revelation. Imperial sensors detected quantum signatures appearing near every major Imperial world. Human ships and bases had been hiding near their planets all along, waiting for this moment. Admiral Thompson's voice broadcasted across Imperial space. You tried to use biological weapons against us. Now witness the price of that decision. Human quantum missiles struck key Imperial military installations across hundreds of worlds simultaneously. The weapons didn't destroy the bases. Instead, they simply shut down all advanced technology. Imperial shields, weapons, and even basic power systems went dark. On dozens of Imperial worlds, the local populations watched in awe as their skies filled with lights. Human ships decloaked in high orbit, their presence both a warning and an offer of protection. Your empire is finished. Thompson's message continued. But your people don't have to suffer. We're offering every Imperial world a choice: independence under human protection, or continued loyalty to an empire that just tried to commit genocide. The response was immediate. Imperial worlds began declaring independence one after another. The Empire's iron grip on its territories crumbled in hours. Back in the Imperial Palace, Emperor William received reports of massive protests in the capital city. His own people were demanding change. How? He whispered, staring at the reports. How did they hide all this from us? The answer came in a private message from Earth. We didn't hide our power because we had to. We hid it because we wanted to give you a chance to make the right choice. You chose wrong. In Earth's command center, Admiral Thompson looked at the strategic display showing the Empire falling apart. Shall we proceed with the final phase? Commander Anna asked. Thompson shook his head. No need. The Empire made their last mistake when they tried to use biological weapons. Their own people will finish this for us. Across the galaxy, a new order was emerging. The empire that had stood for 1,000 years was collapsing, not from human weapons, but from the realization by its own citizens that they had been serving a regime willing to commit genocide. And humanity stood ready to help build something better from the ashes. Supreme Commander Robert stood in the Imperial capital's war room, surrounded by holograms showing their remaining forces. Though half the Empire had already declared independence, the core worlds remained loyal. They had gathered their last fleet, 5,000 ships around the capital. This is where we make our stand, Robert announced to his officers. We still control the most heavily defended world in the galaxy. Even the humans can't break these defenses. The capital planet was surrounded by rings of defense stations, planetary shields, and automated weapon platforms. It had never fallen in 1,000 years. Sir, his tactical officer reported, human ships approaching. But something's wrong with the readings. Robert rushed to the display. The human fleet was smaller than expected. Only 100 ships. But they were like nothing seen before. Each vessel was massive, angular, and seemed to bend light around it. Those aren't normal warships, a scientist warned. The energy readings, they're off the charts. In the lead human vessel, Admiral Thompson prepared for the final battle. The ships they'd brought were humanity's true capital ships. each one powered by an artificial quantum star. "All ships, initiate dimensional phase shift," Thompson ordered. The human fleet suddenly split into multiple images of itself, existing in several dimensional planes at once. When the Imperial forces fired their weapons, most shots passed through the phantom images. "Impossible," Robert shouted as his sensors tried to track the human ships. "They're shifting between dimensions." "Not impossible." Thompson's voice came through on all channels. "We've been studying dimensional physics for centuries. Your three-dimensional weapons can't fight what they can't properly see." The human fleet began its attack. Their ships phased in and out of normal space, appearing inside the Imperial defense grid. The capital's mighty shields meant nothing to ships that could simply shift to a dimension where those shields didn't exist. "Launch everything," Robert ordered desperately. "Every ship, every weapon." The space around the capital erupted with energy as thousands of Imperial ships and defense platforms opened fire. The barrage was impressive. Enough firepower to destroy a dozen normal fleets. But the human ships continued their advance, untouched. Their quantum drives created bubbles of distorted spacetime, redirecting the Imperial attacks into other dimensions. "Sir," Commander Anna reported to Thompson, "their defense grid is adapting. They're trying to match our dimensional frequencies." Thompson nodded. "Time to show them our final technology. Initiate reality anchor protocols." The human ships released strange devices that looked like small stars. These reality anchors began stabilizing space around them, forcing everything back into normal spacetime. Robert watched in horror as his fleet's advanced maneuvers suddenly became impossible. The reality anchors had created zones where advanced physics simply stopped working. His ships were reduced to their most basic functions. "Do you understand now?" Thompson's voice asked. "We didn't just advance our technology. We learned to control the fundamental forces of reality itself." The battle became completely one-sided. Imperial ships, trapped in normal space and stripped of their advanced systems, could only watch as the human fleet systematically disabled their weapons and engines. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor William received the final casualty reports. His entire defense fleet was dead in space. The capital's mighty shields were failing. His last gambit had failed. "Your Majesty," Robert called from the war room, "we have to surrender. They're not even using their full capabilities. They're just toying with us." The Emperor stood from his throne, his shoulders slumped in defeat. 1,000 years of imperial might, ended by a single world they had dismissed as primitive. "Send the surrender signal," he ordered quietly. In Earth's command ship, Thompson received the Empire's surrender. The final battle had lasted less than 2 hours. Was it necessary to show them the reality anchors? Commander Anna asked. Thompson nodded. They needed to understand. The Empire ruled through fear of their technology. Now they know what true technological superiority looks like. As human ships took control of the capital's defense grid, Imperial citizens watched in awe. The Empire had always claimed to be the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Now they knew the truth. They hadn't been the most advanced. They had just been the loudest. 1 month after the Empire's surrender, representatives from 500 worlds gathered in Earth's new Galactic Assembly. The massive chamber, built inside an orbital station, sparkled with holographic displays showing every corner of known space. Former Emperor William, now stripped of his powers, sat quietly among the delegates. He watched as Admiral Thompson took the central platform. The human leader looked exactly as he had when the war started. Calm, confident, and completely in control. "Welcome to the first meeting of the Free Worlds Council," Thompson began. "Today, we start building a better future." Holographic screens showed the changes already taking place across former Imperial space. The human quantum network had been extended to all worlds, bringing instantaneous communication and new technologies. Imperial citizens were experiencing freedoms they had never known before. "Each world will now choose its own path," Thompson continued. "Independence, alliance, or membership in the new Terran protected systems. The choice belongs to each planet's people. In the crowd, Robert, the former Supreme Commander, raised his hand. How can we be sure Earth won't simply become the new empire? Thompson smiled. Watch this. He pressed a button on his podium. Suddenly, the space around Earth lit up. Thousands of hidden defense platforms, bases, and shipyards became visible. But instead of staying active, they began powering down. We're deactivating 90% of our military infrastructure, Thompson explained. We built it to fight the Empire. Now we'll rebuild it together, as equals, to defend all free worlds. The assembly erupted in surprised whispers. No victor in history had ever voluntarily reduced their military power after conquest. But what about your advanced technology? A delegate asked. The dimensional shifting, the reality anchors. We'll share it all. Commander Anna answered, joining Thompson on the platform. Our quantum databases are already teaching your scientists, but technology isn't our greatest strength. Thompson nodded. Our greatest strength was patience. We spent centuries preparing, not just with weapons, but with plans for peace. We didn't want to rule the galaxy. We wanted to free it. The assembly watched as more holographic displays showed the changes happening across space. Former Imperial worlds were rapidly advancing, adopting human technology modified for their specific needs. The rigid Imperial standards were being replaced by diverse, locally adapted solutions. But what about the Empire's supporters? Someone called out. Those who still believe in Imperial rule. They're free to keep their beliefs, Thompson replied. But not their weapons of war. Every world will have defense technology, but no first strike capabilities. The era of conquest is over. Former Emperor William stood up. The assembly fell silent. I was wrong about humans, he admitted. We thought you were primitives hiding in fear, but you were giants choosing to be peaceful. When we forced war upon you, you didn't just defeat us. You showed us a better way. Thompson walked over and shook William's hand, drawing surprised applause from the delegates. The war is over, Thompson announced. Now we face a greater challenge, working together to build something that will last longer than any empire. A civilization of truly free worlds. As the assembly continued, ships from Earth were already spreading throughout known space. But these weren't warships. They carried scientists, teachers, and engineers, helping every world build its own unique future. In orbit above Earth, Commander Anna joined Thompson on an observation deck. They watched as ships from hundreds of worlds moved peacefully through space, their quantum drives leaving trails of light in the darkness. Was this really your plan all along? Anna asked. To hide our power until we could use it to create peace. Thompson smiled. Humanity learned long ago that true power isn't about controlling others. It's about helping them become their best selves. Below them, Earth glowed blue and green, no longer hiding its strength. The planet's quantum shield was visible as a faint shimmer in the atmosphere, not to keep others out, but to remind them of an important lesson. Sometimes the most advanced civilizations are the ones wise enough to wait, strong enough to show mercy, and powerful enough to choose peace. The age of empire was over. The age of humanity had begun.